by and large, Black voters actually agree with us on stuff like abortion. To a large extent, crime. They're the victims of crime. And definitely on immigration. It's immigrants coming in, driving their wages down more than yours or mine, more than most people's. There have been a bunch of studies how immigration really hurts Black workers the most.
Well, look who we have here today. The inimitable Ann Coulter. She's back. And she's talking to Michael Malice. Now, I say she's back. Actually, I'm using this video. This video is actually a couple years old, but like many Ann Coulter videos, it's quite prescient. And it just shows that she's based and red-pilled, and more often than not, she is absolutely right. Because, and she's also evergreen. I mean, she's just been pounding on these issues for years now, probably decades now, in fact. The main one being immigration. She's written various books about it, and how mass immigration is completely changing America, and not for the better. So let's hear what she has to say, and let's see what she has to say about the political parties, specifically the Republicans, about pandering to minority votes, because, well, I won't talk for her. Let's hear what she says first.
Christian, you still have hope, you still root for our side, and I certainly am. But I think things are looking pretty bad.
One of the things that you have, one of your great quotes is, and I believe this was in Adios America, and you said, I quote this all the time, "Attention Republicans, if the New York Times isn't calling you racist, you're losing." Can you unpack for people what you mean by that quote?
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say this enough, and I say it at probably every dinner party I go to, Michael. I ought to just get a recording so I could, go out and have a cigarette or something. For some reason, Republicans, and particularly Republican donors, are just obsessed with getting the Black and Hispanic vote. One of the things that was fantastic about Trump's 2016 campaign, it was kind of stunning. It was the first time any presidential candidate had to appeal to white people for their vote. Now, here's the interesting fact about American politics. The only swing voters in the country are white voters. At least that has been true until now. I know we're all rooting for a slight uptick in the Hispanic vote, but it's basically about 70% Asians voting Democrats, about 70% Hispanics voting Democrat, about 90% Blacks voting Democrat. And what determines every election, Michael, is how white working class voters vote. They are the ones who, you think to yourself, who's going back and forth between Obama and Trump? It's white people.
Well, what she says is absolutely correct, and totally based and red-pilled. And that point about if you're not being called a racist, you're not doing it right. I absolutely agree. If the people, the liberals, libtards, the wokerati, whatever you want to call them, if the people who are trying to destroy Western civilization are calling you racist, you are absolutely doing something right. And if they're not calling you racist, you're not doing things right. You need to get a lot more clear in your messaging. Absolutely. And I think on a personal level too. Absolutely. Not just in terms of the Republican Party, who are supposedly conservative, but they can't even conserve the ladies' room, for God's sake. But she's right. And another thing the Republicans do, of course, is they rail on about identity politics. We're against identity politics. Well, that ship has sailed. Now is the time to play the identity politics game. That's the game that's being played, and you got to play the game that's being played. So, as Ann Coulter's saying, what basically is what she's saying is you should play identity politics if you're the Republicans and you want to win, and you should appeal in the United States, and I think in Western Europe too, for that matter. You should appeal to white voters. After all, in Europe, Europeans, the indigenous peoples of the various European countries, are Europeans. White, if you want to call them that. Same with America. The indigenous found, the United States of America was founded by Europeans for them and for their descendants. So play the game, play the identity politics game. Don't even accept the framing of, oh, you're racist, oh, you're playing identity politics. Go, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm a racist. I play identity politics. I want the white vote. That's what they should do. If they want to win, that's what they should do. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Am I going too far? I don't think so.
It's white people. You will get, slight variations in what I just described, given the circumstances. But by and large, immigrants generally vote about 80% against Republicans. So that particular quote was, in fact, it was written, that entire chapter was written after a dinner party in Palm Beach with, I was the only non-billionaire by a long shot at the party. And, it just drives you crazy. These are obviously smart people, but whatever it is they did to make all of this money, it isn't politics. I'm the dork at home reading Nexus all day, watching MSNBC, paying attention to what's been going on. When it comes to politics, shut up and listen to me, billionaires. So anyway, as usual, they're droning on, and I think we could get a little more of the black vote. And I, in my very polite way, blew up at them. And I turned in Adios America at that point. It was right around Christmas time. I think I turned it in the day before Christmas. I was a little behind my deadline. And I came home and in a rage wrote up a chapter that I titled, I wrote this chapter after realizing how stupid Republicans are. And I mentioned, what's the biggest presidential landslide in American history? Ronald Reagan in 1984. Do a Nexus search on how many times he was called a racist. He got less of the black vote. And back then, it really was just the black and white vote. There weren't enough Hispanics or Asians, I think, to even be counted in polls. And he got the smallest percentage of the black vote of any presidential candidate. So welcome it, Republicans. If you're not being called racist by the New York Times, you are losing.
Let me push back a little in this regard. Don't you think when candidates talk about, or in some ways make even lip service to getting the black or Hispanic vote, this makes suburban white women a lot more comfortable with that campaign because they kind of are mollified and they're like, oh, this person's not dangerous. They're not a demagogue. I'm going to vote for them. Like, it's kind of a backdoor way to campaign for the white female vote.
I think there are better ways to do it. I mean, for one thing, I don't think there are as many. We may know more in our social circles, suburban white women, as there are a vast, enormous white working class.
Sure.
And the white working class women don't give a crap about that. And, when I say, if you're not being called racist by the New York Times, you're losing, I don't mean be racist. Reagan wasn't racist. I'm not racist. You're not racist, but you're gonna be called racist. I think the Republicans' position should be, look, this is what we stand for. And by the way, if they really push the immigration issue, blacks won't vote for you, but they will agree with you.
Now, that's an interesting point, too, because as we know, Donald Trump just recently won the election, and for, I guess, the first time, he saw there was a significant increase in the black vote for Donald Trump, for a Republican. Whether that made him win or not, I don't know. Seems like they're still counting the votes, last time I heard, but whatever. So anyway, I think she raises a pretty good point here. Let's just listen to a little bit more.
You always have Republicans saying, and this is true, this has always been true, if you go by, issue by issue, by and large, black voters actually agree with us on stuff like abortion. To a large extent, crime. They're the victims of crime. And definitely on immigration, it's immigrants coming in, driving their wages down more than yours or mine, more than most people's. There have been a bunch of studies how immigration really hurts black workers the most. So they're going to agree with you, but they probably will go off and still vote for the Democrats. But the position should just be, these are my positions. I would love your vote. I think you should vote for me. I'm not pandering to you.
There we go. You know, as usual, Ann Coulter, very direct and to the point. I like her. You know, she annoys a lot of people, but I think she annoys all the right people, frankly. A lot of people, God, the people in my family, oh, they cannot, they despise her. They cannot stand Ann Coulter. Just the mention of her. But, you know, they say that about anybody, you know. They all think I'm racist and wicked and evil. So that's just what life, the way life is when you're the lone conservative type traditionalist in a family of libtards and progressives and liberals. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. It really helps with the algorithm, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me to grow the channel and continue making content for you. And I'll see you in the next one.